Okay, we are going to go ahead and get started. Today is going to be all about arms. So we're going to be working on our shoulders, different parts of our arm muscles, that is really going to support us throughout our practice and also help us later on in our practice if we're working towards things like arm balances. These are all really great pieces and little flows that we can piece into our daily or weekly practice just to get that arm work in there. And gradually we'll start to see a really nice development of the arm muscles, even just by bringing one or two of these exercises into our practice. So we're going to go ahead and get started, making our way to a resting seated position, and that's whatever that looks like for you today. Hands rest gently on the knees if that feels good. Otherwise, allowing both hands to face up and out to receive energy around us and energy from this space. But wherever we are and all together, we're allowing the eyes to shut softly. Take a big deep breath in, followed by a nice full exhale. Allow those shoulders to come away from the ears. Deep inhalation. Nice long exhale. All together, taking some time to get acclimated with our breathing as we inhale through the nostrils for a count of 4 or 5, followed by an open mouth exhale for a count of 5 or 6. We're slowing down the breathing, allowing the heart rate to settle as we make way into our practice today, taking some time to focus on the breath. In through the nose. Allow those lungs to fill up with air, followed by an open mouth exhale. The chest softens along with those shoulder blades. Repeating this cycle in through the nostrils, out through the mouth, in through the nose, out through the mouth. I encourage us to let go of any thoughts, emotions that exist outside of this space and outside of this practice, so we can be fully present for ourselves today, so we can be fully present on the mat today. And if any of those thoughts or emotions start to pop up throughout our practice, feel free to guide our attention right back to the breath. Check in with the state of our breathing. Allow the muscles in the face to relax. Just breathing here. On our next exhalation, allowing our chin to make its way down towards our chest so the cervical spine is long. If we'd like, we can shake the head no, releasing any tension in the neck there. And as we inhale, guide our right ear towards our right shoulder, getting a nice extension in the left side of the neck. If we'd like, we can allow our left palm to meet the ground beside us, and we can walk it away from us for a deeper extension here, from those fingertips through the full length of the arm and all the way up into the jaw. If we'd like, even lifting this left hand out, really feeling that stretch through the back of the elbow. Together, releasing that left hand down to the ground, perhaps subtly moving the chin down and back up, exploring those micro muscles in the neck, perhaps noticing a spot that seems a little more tense than the rest and holding there. our next exhalation, chin meets chest, we can bring the left arm in. Inhale, guide left ear to left shoulder, nice extension in the right side of the neck. If we'd like, gently placing that right hand beside us, we can walk it away from us for a deeper extension from those fingertips to the full length of the arm, all the way up into the jaw. If we'd like, perhaps even lifting that right arm, feeling that stretch throughout the length of the arm, especially behind the elbow. As we exhale, we can release the right hand down. If we'd like, gently moving the chin down and back up, exploring the micro muscles in the neck. Perhaps noticing that a certain spot needs a little more of our attention and staying there for a couple breaths. And all together as we exhale, chin meets chest one last time. As we inhale, roll those shoulders down the back, lift through the crown of the head. Beautiful. Reach both arms up to the ceiling, perhaps the gaze follows. And all together, even out the spine, latching both hands onto our elbows here. On an exhalation, leaning over to the right side, getting a nice deep stretch in the left shoulder blade there. Breathe. And as we inhale, come right back to center. Exhale, rotate over left side. And inhale, center, go ahead and release both hands. As we exhale, the arms come down and out with complete control. 2 more times. Inhale high. Big deep breath, and exhale, those arms come down and out with control. 1 more time. Inhale high. And exhale, the arms come out and down with control. Inhale, lift those arms up to the ceiling. And as we exhale, the right hand comes down towards the mat as we extend through the left side. Taking a deep breath here. The gaze can be down towards the bottom hand or up towards the top, whatever feels good on the neck. And inhale, center. Exhale, rotate over, opposite side. Left palm meets the ground as we reach through the right side. Shifting the gaze as we need to. Keeping that pelvis rooted on the floor throughout our warm-ups here. And inhale to center, allow the palms to touch as we exhale, bending into the elbows so the hands come behind the head. Nice deep shoulder stretch. If we'd like, even subtly just lifting the chin up here feeling that deepening between the shoulder blades, mini arch in the spine. As we inhale, drop both arms up to the sky. Exhale, fold. Reach those arms in front of us. And allow the chest to relax, the chin to soften. Only walking the hands as far as feels good. If you have really tight hips, it's okay if they're a little bit closer. Just getting a nice stretch in the low back here. Inhale, walk both hands to the right side. Chest stays low. Come back to center just as a transition to walk all the way over to the left side. Chest stays low. Inhale, come right back to center, last time. And all together, we can allow the chest to rise, the gaze to meet each other. We're making our way onto our hands and knees. Checking our alignment as soon as we get there. The wrists are underneath the shoulder blades and those knees are hip width apart. Check in with those toes. They're tucked behind the thighs as much as they can be. All together, allowing the right foot to come just outside of the mat, the gaze follows. Nice little compression in the right side body there if you'd like, even lifting that right heel, engaging the glute muscle to do so. And exhale, release that right foot, bring the right knee in. All together, left foot comes to the outside of the mat, allow the gaze to follow. If we'd like, lifting through that left heel, engaging the glute muscle. And all together, go ahead and release that left foot, bring the left knee in. As we inhale, dropping the belly button down towards the mat for cow pose, crown of the head and tailbone rise. As we exhale, round out the back, tuck the chin and the tailbone for cat. And inhale, shift the spine, open up for cow. If you'd like, we can go with our own breath here. Otherwise, we're following me. Exhale, round it out. Tuck the chin and the tailbone. Inhale, open up. Exhale, round. Press through those muscles in the back body. Last time, inhale wide for cow. And exhale, round it out for cat pose. All together, finding a nice neutral spine. Grounding the right palm on the floor as we inhale, draw the left arm up to the sky, open up the chest. And as we exhale, we're threading that left arm through the space in the right hand. The shoulder and the cheek meet the mat for threading the needle pose. And if we'd like, we can stay right here using this right hand as support. Otherwise, we can walk the right hand forward, opening up the shoulder blade here. If we'd like to go for a bind, we're allowing that right forearm to come behind the back, but it's whatever feels good. Having that inner dialogue with the body. What do we need today? What would support us through this practice? And on our next inhalation, making our way back up to a tabletop position using that right hand as support. Once we get there, grounding the left palm, reach the right arm up to the sky. And as we exhale, threading that right hand through the space in the left side, shoulder and cheek meet the mat for threading the needle pose. You can use this left hand as support here. Perhaps we're walking it forward, opening up the shoulder blade. Or going for a bind, allowing that left forearm to come behind the back. Just breathing. And on our next inhalation, we can make our way back up to a tabletop position. Rounding those palms into the hand firmly, we're flipping the back toes, guiding the hips up and diagonally back into downward facing dog pose. You can walk out the feet here if that feels good. Lifting one heel as you send the opposite heel down. Warming up those hip joints and the glute muscles. Making sure each fingertip is pressed into the mat here, so all the weight isn't on our wrist. The gaze is towards the toes. And all together coming to a nice neutral down dog. Hold here for 4 breaths. And on our next exhalation, we're allowing the shoulders to come over the wrist, finding ourselves in a high plank. The core is engaged, hips are in line with the shoulder blades, stepping those feet back to make ourselves nice and long. Holding here. All together, we can release the knees down to the mat. And as we exhale, we're just lowering the chest down halfway, keeping those elbows nice and close to the chest. And all together, release the chest all the way down. Flip onto the tops of those feet. As we inhale, lift up the chest, hips stay low for upward facing dog pose. The quadriceps are engaged, so we're working our way to get them off the mat, so we're not diving too much weight into our low back there. And as we exhale, we can release the knees, send the hips back, child's pose. As we inhale, making our way back up to a tabletop position, flipping the back toes, guide the hips up, diagonally back, downward facing dog pose. Hold for 4 breaths. And all together on our next exhalation, shift those shoulders over the wrist, hips in line with the shoulder blades, high plank. All together, releasing those knees to the ground, only lowering down the chest halfway. Those shoulders roll down the back as the elbows stay nice and close to the chest. We're holding here, making sure the core is engaged, so not all the weight's in the arms. And all together, release the chest all the way down. Flip onto the tops of these feet. Send the chest up. Hips stay low. Upward facing dog. Crown of the head is high. Breathing. And all together, release those knees. Send the hips all the way down and back for child's pose. All together as we inhale, returning to our tabletop position, flipping the back toes, guiding the hips up diagonally back for downward facing dog pose. Holding for 4 breaths. And on our next exhalation, allowing those hips to come in line with the shoulder blades for high plank. Shoulders come over wrists. Holding here. If we'd like to go for an even bigger arm challenge, we're keeping those knees off the mat as we lower the chest halfway. Otherwise, release those knees, lower the chest halfway. And all together, release that chest down to the mat. Hips stay low as we lift through the chest. Upward facing dog. Engaging those quadriceps and the glute muscles to support the low back. Fingertips are pressed into the mat. And all together, release those knees. Send the hips all the way down and back for child's pose. Relax the neck and the forehead. Breathe. And as we inhale, we're making our way back up to a tabletop position. Flipping the back toes, guide those hips up and diagonally back, downward facing dog pose. Making sure we're pushing through those shoulder blades here. And breathe. On our next exhalation, we're allowing those shoulders to come over the wrist. Hips are in line with the shoulder blades for high plank. Again, if we'd like, on our next exhalation, we're releasing the knees down to the mat. Otherwise, all together, lowering the chest down just halfway. And as we exhale, we can release that chest all the way down. Lift through those shoulder blades as we press the tops of the feet into the mat for upward facing dog. Quadriceps and those glutes are engaged, as well as our core here. Fingertips are pressed into the ground. And exhale, bend into those knees. Send those hips all the way down for child's pose. If we'd like, even bringing our hands down to our sides, allowing the back to round out fully over the thighs here. Breathe. as we inhale, we're coming right back to a tabletop position all together. Flipping the back toes, we're guiding the hips up and diagonally back into downward facing dog pose. Hold for 4 breaths. All together as we exhale, drawing the right hand inward towards this left shin so it comes across the body. We're balancing on that left arm in between our feet. Go ahead and release that right hand on an exhalation, extending that left hand towards the right shin. Comes across the body. And all together, release that left hand. We're allowing the hips to come in line with those shoulder blades. Shoulders come over wrist for high plank. All together, inhale, just lift one foot off the ground. Holding here. All together, release that foot, opposite side. Subtle lift through the heel. And all together, release that opposite foot. Send the hips up, diagonally back for downward facing dog. Holding for 4 breaths. All together on an exhalation, reaching that right hand towards the left shin. It comes inward. Releasing the right hand back to the ground, opposite side, left palm reaches towards the right shin. And all together, releasing that left hand, allowing the shoulders to come over the wrist, hips in line with shoulder blades, high plank. Hold. All together, lifting one heel. Making sure we're breathing here. Releasing that foot, allowing the opposite side to lift. And all together, releasing that foot, bending into the knees, send those hips all the way down and back for child's pose. Release the hands and the wrists, nice and soft. If you'd like, you can roll out the wrists here, clockwise and counterclockwise. Wiggle out the fingertips. Then allow those hands to relax softly along with the neck and the chest in our child's pose. Breathing. And as we inhale, we can make our way back up to a tabletop position. All together, flip through the back toes, guide the hips up and diagonally back into downward facing dog pose. Holding for 4 breaths. All All together, allow those shoulders to come over wrists, high plank. Hips are in line with that shoulders, making sure the fingertips are pressed into the ground so there's not too much weight on the wrists. As we inhale, lift up one heel. Not a super high lift here, just working those toes off the ground. Exhale, release that foot, opposite side. All together, release that foot, send the hips up and diagonally back, press through those shoulder blades for down dog. Take a deep breath. All together, grounding the left hand as we bring the right hand inward towards the left shin. Ground the right hand, draw that left arm inward towards the right. And all together, release that left hand. We're allowing those shoulders to come over the wrist. Hips in line with shoulder blades, high plank. All together, lifting one heel. Making sure we're breathing. We're almost done here. Releasing that foot back down to the ground, lifting through the opposite side. All together, releasing that foot, sending the hips up and diagonally back into downward facing dog. Bring the right palm in, comes towards the left shin, balancing through that left hand. All together, release the right. Drawing that left hand inward towards the right shin. And all together, release that left palm. Allow the knees to come down towards the mat. Send the hips all the way down and back for child's pose. Again, if we'd like, we can keep the hands nice and soft in front of us. Otherwise, we can bring the arms down to our sides. Allow the back to round out over the thighs here. And all together, making our way up to a tabletop position. Grounding the hands, the shoulders are over the wrists. Step the feet back, hips are in line with the shoulders for high plank. From here, we're going to be doing some high plank to low plank transitions. So we're holding in our high plank here. The core is engaged, fingertips pressed into the mat. And all together, coming down onto the forearms, making sure that butt isn't lifted up too high here. We're working it towards alignment with the shoulders, making sure those elbows come down right underneath the shoulder blades. All together, inhale up to high plank. Only 3 more times after this. Hold. Exhale, come down to low plank and hold. Inhale, lift. Use those shoulder blades. Only 2 more times. Breathe. All together, come down. Inhale up. Last time. You guys got this. Exhale, come down. Low plank. And all together, release those back knees. Send the hips all the way down and back for child's pose. That was a great job. Breathe. Allow the wrists and the arms to be completely soft here. Catch our breath. And all together, making our way back up to a tabletop position. Flipping the back toes as we guide the hips up and diagonally back into downward facing dog pose. We're holding for 4 breaths. Notice how the lungs fill up with air. Nice long release. All together, drawing that right hand inward towards that left shin. Releasing the right hand. Allow that left hand to come inward towards the right shin. All together, we can release the right palm, allowing the shoulders to come over wrists, high plank. Lifting up one heel. Go ahead and release. Opposite heel rises. And all together, we can release. Walk the feet in. Send the hips high. Round off. Take a deep breath. Hold for 3 more. All together, allowing the left palm to come inward towards the right shin. Releasing that left palm down to the ground, opposite side. Right hand reaches towards the left shin. All together, grounding the right hand, Allowing the shoulders to come over wrists. Hips in line with the shoulder blades for high plank. Lift one heel. Making sure we're breathing. Release that heel, lift through opposite side. All together, release. Go ahead and allow those knees to come down to the mat. Send the hips all the way down and back for child's pose. Allow the neck to be soft along with the arms. If we'd like, we can roll out the wrist again here, clockwise and counterclockwise. Wiggle out the fingertips. Then allow ourselves to be soft here, breathing. On our next inhalation, we're coming back to our tabletop position, grounding the hands, flipping the back toes as we send the hips up and diagonally back into downward facing dog pose, and hold for 4 breaths. All together, allowing the shoulders to come over the wrists, hips in line with the shoulder blades for high plank. Lifting one heel. Releasing that heel down, inhale, lift through opposite side. And all together, step the feet in, hips come high, down dog. Holding, 2 more breaths here. Guiding the left arm inward towards the right shin. Pressing through that right palm in the feet for support. Release the left hand, bring the right hand in towards that left shin. And as we exhale, release, coming into our high plank, hips in line with the shoulder blades. As we inhale, lift one heel. Release that heel down, lift opposite side. Go ahead and release. Walk the feet in, hips high, down dog. All together, left hand comes towards the right shin. Release the left hand back down. Bring the right hand inward towards the left. And all together, release. Allow both knees to make their way down to the ground. Send those hips all the way down and back for child's pose. the arms to be completely soft. Nice full breaths here. Open mouth exhales. And all together coming to our tabletop position. Flipping the back toes. Guide those hips up, diagonally back, downward facing dog pose. Hold for 4 breaths. All together, step the feet back, hips come in line with the shoulder blades, high plank. If we'd like, we can release the knees to the ground. Otherwise, we can halfway chaturanga down. Keep those shoulders close to the chest, elbows nice and tight, only coming halfway down. And all together, release the chest all the way down. Press into the tops of the feet, hips stay low, upward facing dog pose. Engage those quadriceps and the glute muscles, protecting the low back. Shoulders are down and back, nice and tight. All together, release those knees. Send the hips all the way down and back, child's pose. All together, coming back to our tabletop, flipping the back toes, guide those hips up and diagonally back into downward facing dog pose. Holding for 3 more breaths. All together, hips come in line with the shoulders, high plank, shoulders come over wrists. If we'd like, releasing the knees if we're looking for that challenge. Halfway, chaturanga down, hold. Elbows stay close, shoulders nice and tight. And all together, release that chest all the way down to the ground. Press through the palms of the hands and the tops of those feet for upward facing dog. And as we exhale, release those knees. Send the chest down. Hips come down and back for child's pose. Allow that forehead to rest. All together as we inhale, coming to our tabletop, releasing the forearms down onto the mat. As we walk the hands forward, allow the chest to come down. Nice deep opening between the shoulder blades for puppy pose. The hips are high as this feels good. Forehead is working its way down to the ground. And as we inhale, we're lifting up the head, drawing the hips forward. Move the forearms forward as well, so the elbows are underneath the shoulder blades for Sphinx pose. Hips are resting on the ground. All together, just looking over our left shoulder. Nice compression in the back there. Inhale, center. Exhale, look over right side. Inhale, center. And all together, releasing our chest all the way down onto the ground and allowing our arms to splay out to our sides. Allow the left cheek to rest on the floor. As we inhale, we're lifting the right heel up towards the ceiling. And as we exhale, we're extending it behind the back over that left side, finding ourselves in a nice deep twist here. And inhale, right back to center, switch cheeks, right cheek is resting on the mat. As we inhale, lift the left heel. And as we exhale, bring it behind the back and over that right leg and a twist, opening up the shoulder blade. And inhale, back to center. Press those hands underneath the shoulder blades. Use the strength of our arms to lift up the chest. Send the hips all the way down and back for child's pose. All together, coming back to our tabletop position, flipping the back toes as we guide the hips up, diagonally back into downward facing dog pose. If we'd like, we can pedal out the feet here again. Lifting one heel as we send the opposite down. And all together, coming to a nice still down dog. Hold for 4 breaths. Allow those shoulders to come in line with the hips for high plank. Shoulders over wrists, engaging the core and the glute muscles. All together, we can release the knees, send the chest just halfway down, bringing those elbows nice and close. And releasing that chest all the way down. Press through the hands and the tops of the feet. Get those hips off the ground for upward facing dog. All together, release the knees, send the hips all the way down and back. Just one more cycle of this. As we inhale, come to tabletop. Flip the back toes, guide the hips up and diagonally back into downward facing dog pose. Hold for 4 breaths. Press through the shoulders, get some tension off those wrists. And all together, shoulders come over, wrists, hips in line with the shoulder blades for high plank. Releasing those knees down all together. Keep the elbows in close. Release just halfway. And then all the way down to the ground. Flip onto the tops of those feet as we press through the hands. Engage those quadriceps to get the hips off the ground. Upward facing dog. Breathing. All together, release those knees, send the hips all the way down and back for child's pose. If we'd like, even bringing these hands down to our sides, allowing the full back to round out over the legs. Breathing. All together, lifting up the chest, just as the transition to make our way all the way down onto our backs for some cool downs. Allow the full length of the back to rest softly. The feet can remain planted in the mat for now. As we inhale, we're interlacing the fingertips as we reach the arms up to the sky. And exhale, flip those wrists so we get a nice stretch in the backs of the forearms as well as the wrists here. And all together, we can flip those wrists right back, bring the hands down to our sides. Inhale, bring both knees in towards the chest. We can rock from side to side and recline child's pose. If we'd like, we can hang out right here, catch our breath. Otherwise, we can grab towards the inner soles of the feet, allow those knees to come out and down to our sides for happy baby. Again, rocking from side to side if that feels good. And all together, bringing both knees back in towards the chest. Keeping the right knee in close, send the left heel up to the sky. And with complete control, allowing that left leg to make its way down to the ground. Once it meets the floor, we can roll out the right ankle clockwise and counterclockwise. If we'd like, we can stay right here. Otherwise, we can interlace the fingertips around the right thigh and just extend the right leg out. Now, the leg does not have to be close to the chest at all here. Finding where it kind of naturally stops us and hanging out there, stretching through the heel so we get that nice pull in the shin and the back of the leg. Breathing wherever we are. And all together, if we raise the knee, we're bending the right leg out, bringing the left knee up to meet it. Keep the left knee close as we send the right heel up to the ceiling. And with complete control, lowering that right leg down to the mat. Once it gets there, we can roll out the left ankle clockwise and counterclockwise. If we'd like, we can hang out right here. Otherwise, we can interlace the fingertips around the left thigh, extending that left heel up to the sky, finding a nice stretch in the shin, as well as the back of the leg. Again, no need to force this leg close to the chest by any means. Just focus on that extension. And all together, bend into that left knee if we raised it, and release that left leg all the way down onto the ground. Turn the palms out as we roll the shoulders down the back. Allow the feet to come wider than hip width apart so they splay out nice and naturally. Checking in with the state of our body. Starting with the muscles in the face. Release any tension from between the eyebrows and the forehead. Allow the eye sockets and the cheekbones to be heavy. Removing the tongue from the roof of the mouth, the lips part naturally. And following the sense of release throughout the full length of our body, into the shoulder blades, down the biceps to the triceps, relaxing each elbow, the forearm, and the wrist. Allow a softness to come into the palms of the hands and each and every fingertip. And bringing our focus back to the center line of the body. Notice the ribcage and the inner organs. Allow the hips to be heavy, along with the quadriceps and the hamstrings and each knee, through the calves and the shins, a nice release. The ankles are soft, and so are the tops and the bottoms of the feet. Taking, if not just this one moment today, to be free of tension, both mental and physical clutter. Taking, if not just this one moment today, to allow the floor to bear all of our weight. Allowing ourselves to feel light and weighted at the same time. Focusing the mind on that breathing. The deep inhalation through the nostrils, followed by the nice open mouth exhale as the chest softens. And if we'd like, we can stay in our corpse pose for another moment. Otherwise, unless we're pregnant or have high blood pressure, we can roll over to the right side. Allow the knees to come in nice and close, the chest follows in a fetal position. I encourage us to take this time to send a thank you note to the body and the mind that brought you to the mat today. Even if that's for something as simple as being able to make it onto the mat, for being able to move and try, thank you for just being able to try. And upon sending that thank you note, taking our time, if we'll make our way back up to a resting seated position, much like the one we started our class with today, bringing our hands to heart center or your third eye. I thank you all for sharing this practice with me, for allowing me to lead you through it, for staying strong the whole time, for trying. The light and the love within me sees I bow and recognize the light and the love within you, and I thank you. Namaste.